Another Seattle journalist, former mainstream media reporter who left and really has committed himself to telling the truth about what's happening in Seattle is our friend Jonathan Choe, senior fellow and journalist for Discovery Institute. Jonathan, welcome back to Undivided.
Thanks for having me, Brandi.
It might sound obvious given the title, but you're dropping a new series this week called Seattle's Unending Drug Crisis. Besides the unending drug crisis, what specifically are you taking a look at in that series?
Yeah, I'm just talking about and highlighting the inconvenient truth out there that the homeless crisis, the drug crisis, it all intersects. And it's on full display in some of the most public areas in Seattle, especially on 3rd Avenue and Pine Street right now in the downtown core. It's a gateway into Pike Street Market, into the shopping area, a lot of businesses and tourists are coming by and watching people, addicts, smoking fentanyl, all kinds of drugs in plain sight. And on top of that, that black market that was there in the past, it's reemerged now. You have addicts who are telling me in these interviews that I'm doing on camera that they don't care about law enforcement, that they have to feed their addiction. So what they do is they go and boost, in other words, steal merchandise from these stores to sell it on the street for pennies on the dollar so they can buy these pills now being called blues that they can buy for $3 a pill, which is essentially fentanyl pills that they're smoking. And it's just created this vicious cycle of theft, of ongoing crime, and of course, the tragedy in this addiction. People are overdosing every single day on the streets of Seattle.
So you had posted a video several months ago going down along 3rd Avenue between Pike and Pine. And after that, the city came in, they kind of swept the area, so to speak, tried to have a bigger police presence. Has that just entirely come back or is it shifted a little bit? What's the status compared to, I mean, everybody will remember, I'll play the video of just you walking and it just packed with people.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable, visual when I walked 3rd Avenue. And it really started from that McDonald's area, right? Along Pine and you go down Pike. That has now moved and has been confined primarily to that abandoned stretch of buildings, basically at the corner of 3rd and Pike now, near the Walgreens. And the drug users, the addicts, the people selling stolen merchandise that moved to the side streets. It went away for a little while when they started to add the police mobile precinct, when they had officers on patrol on bikes, but it just came back. There were moments I'd go back at least once a week to see, hey, what's going on, and it was actually clear for at times. And I have video of this and I was documenting it for pretty much the past 2-3 months. But I'd say just in the past few weeks, it's just come roaring back. And, maybe some will say it was always there. It never went away, but it was, hidden in the side streets, alleys. But now 3rd and Pike is one of the main epicenters of this type of activity. It's also come back in Little Saigon near 12th and Jackson. And now this activity is also spilled out to Westlake Park. Go there at night and you will see dozens of drug addicts. And here's the kicker. The police, we all know that there aren't enough officers right now in the city right now. All they can really do is do these patrols in their vehicles. They cruise by, they drive by, the addicts just turn the other way. Or in many cases, they just do it in front of the police because they know they're not going to do anything about it.
To that end, you put out two videos recently that kind of speak to their real lack of concern about law enforcement. One of them is there was a mobile precinct station down there, and people were graffitiing it.
Yeah, first of all, so just to be clear, the mayor ordered the mobile precinct to be stationed on 3rd Avenue several months ago after a few shootings. And it's just a lot of pressure from the business community, especially Olga Sagan, the owner of Piroshki, the Russian bakery there, which, by the way, still hasn't reopened. It's temporarily closed just due to all the crime. Anyway, they put this mobile precinct there, and it's the blue one, the up-to-date one. But that recently disappeared. And in its place is now this massive, like antiquated looking 1990s mobile precinct. And it's the worst kept secret. Everyone knows it's been sitting there empty right next to McDonald's. And the other day, lo and behold, graffiti, the vandals, they started tagging it up and leaving trash. And I thought that was ultimately insult to injury. I mean, it's just so symbolic, right? They shows that they don't care about law enforcement. They don't care about accountability, and it's just become this lawless part of the city. And that's why businesses continue to leave. As we know, the Westlake Starbucks recently closed down. The Amazon Go store just a few blocks up across the street from Westlake Park, that's closed down. So it's like, which business is going to be next?
Yeah, and really quickly on the Starbucks, that's been there forever. It was a busy Starbucks, but yeah, I mean, it was a constant kind of problem area for a long time. How do you think that closing further sort of degrades the situation there in downtown?
Yeah, it was one of the few remaining businesses kind of right at that corner, right? It was this visual beacon. You had a lot of people going in, going out, and you need a vibrant store like that in that area. But now it's you pretty much have, paper on the windows. There's, I'm sorry, we're closed sign on the glass door. And that area now is just hopefully won't happen, but it's like going to become like a blight. That's my concern, right? On this community until it gets filled, until another neighbor comes in. Of course, Westlake Park is right across the street. The Abercrombie and Fitch store is also closed, right? That hasn't opened up pretty much since the pandemic. And of course, you have the Macy's building that continues to sit empty. So that entire intersection, no more business. So what that does, the signals is, hey, to the drug users, the dealers, the illegal activity, hey, we can go set up shop there. And I'm afraid that intersection could be next.
I don't blame the businesses, but it is kind of like saying, okay, you win, criminals, you win, drug dealers, you win. We're going to give up and leave. But it does just suck the vibrancy. So for people who don't live in Seattle, who are not familiar with this area, this is what is supposed to be the heart of the city. This is the shopping district. It's right, as you said earlier, by Pike Place Market. This, when I first moved to Seattle, was a place I would go out with friends to get dinner. We would go out and have drinks near there at night. I would never even dream of doing that now. And so I just want to make that clear for people. This isn't some desolate spot in the city in the back alleyways. This is what's supposed to be the heart of the city. One other quick thing on what you mentioned about police. You posted a video that I thought was interesting. It was two officers on patrol, and there was some sort of, I don't know if it was a drug deal going down or someone just using drugs, and the officers stopped and contacted them, which, is a good step, right? To at least stop. And then this guy, yeah, the guy tries to run and they take him down. What were the officers going to do in that situation?
Well, it appeared the officers, and that's right. It got so much attention, Brandi, because that's extremely rare. You
Yeah.
rarely see officers about to actually ticket, and that's what was going to happen. I saw the officer take out the ticket book. You see it in the video. The officer is about to write this alleged drug user a ticket, but instead of stopping, the user makes a run for it. But that's when the officer immediately tackles this guy. He goes to the ground. His accompanying officer holds his legs. They call for backup. He gets cuffed and he gets taken away. And at the end, you hear another officer explaining to another fella at the scene who asked, why is this guy getting arrested? And the officer said pretty much, hey, what happened is that, he was going to get written up for this misdemeanor. Using drugs in a public place is still considered a misdemeanor. Of course, there's the lack of enforcement, which is a problem, but it became obstruction and an arrestable offense when he made a run for it.
He was seen using drugs, therefore committing a misdemeanor. When you failed to stop and listen to him when he ran, he committed obstruction, and that's why they did what they did. Yeah, so everyone out here, like, we obviously can't hit it all at once, but when you're out here smoking drugs, like, you're committing misdemeanors.
So that's why he was arrested. And again, I think a lot of people were pleasantly surprised. They want to see more of that. They want to see more patrols. But again, due to the fact that SPD continues to lose officers and continues to struggle to not only retain, but attract new officers to join the force, we'll see what's going to happen on 3rd Avenue.
Yeah, I'm absolutely glad that they've been given the green light to write tickets like that. Frankly, I thought they had stopped doing that a long time ago. Yeah, if this guy had just taken the ticket, but now he's probably, well, I don't know. We'll see if he goes to jail for it. But
We'll see
um,
what the judge does at the end of the day, or if prosecutors even decide to prosecute.
I'm sure he's already out with no bail. So I'm sure he's already out scot-free. In watching this, and again, Jonathan Choe, he's going to be launching a series called Seattle's Unending Drug Crisis, which I'm really excited to see because you've been posting some sort of snippets from some of the stuff that you've captured downtown. It seems like some of these people are very comfortable having you down there documenting their crimes.
What else, Coach? Wow.
$20, make me a lot.
$20 for original Coach. Authentic, huh?
Original Coach. Those are Versace, Bugatti, and Mary. It's like those are $5. Dude.
Wow.
The sunglasses are $5.
Incredible. It's all come back, huh?
Yeah, really? Every day?
It's all come back.
Is that because they don't know what you're doing, or they're that far gone, or you've built a relationship with them? What's going on there?
I think, Brandi, you hit it all on the head. It's all of the above. What's happened now, it's this culture that has emerged, this lawless culture where I asked the users, I asked even some of the dealers, they don't care anymore. You'll see in my series, some fellas who show up on Friday night, they literally bring a couch and Corona beers and just drink. It's become like this festive atmosphere on 3rd Avenue mixed in with the black market, the drug dealing and the drug using. So it's like this toxic cocktail ultimately that just drags down the city. And it's just hilarious at times to see tourists, though, just accidentally walk in. As I mentioned, this is kind of a gateway into Pike Place Market. So you have people going back and forth from, Seattle Convention Center and so on and so forth. And they run into this. And the moment they walk in, they're like, whoa, what is this? And that reaction happens almost every time without fail.
After seeing everything that you're seeing now here on 3rd Avenue, would you come back to Seattle?
No, never. I would never come back there. No.
So look, this is something that the mayor, I know he's trying. In fairness, Mayor Bruce Harrell's trying. Yeah. SPD is trying. I can't emphasize that enough. But right now, I think what our elected officials need to do is continue to reassess what's going on. And, if they need to bring back the mobile precinct, or they bring back the mobile precinct. If they need to have, more officers on the street on patrol there regularly, then do that. But right now, what I'm seeing is it's just been spotty, inconsistent. And again, the criminals, the drug users, the addicts, they all know that. They own this part of Seattle.
Yeah. Before you came on, I was talking about my disappointment in a lot of the mainstream media in Seattle about a failure to really be honest about what's happening, just unflinchingly honest, because lives are at stake. And to me, the number one priority of elected officials should be public safety, and therefore that should be the number one focus of the media as well. And it's just not. For you, as you're out there and covering these things and at press conferences, do you feel the same way? Am I over exaggerating the lack of care or concern from a lot of the press in Seattle?
Well, it really depends who you ask. And at the end of the day, your readers, your listeners, your viewers, they see the end result. And, in fairness, there are still some good journalists out there here in Seattle trying. But the fact of the matter is, the reality is, our entire industry right now is going through a crisis. We're still going through the Great Resignation. If you look at Seattle television right now, I don't recognize more than half the faces. There are all these new kids coming into town now because so many of the veterans have quit or just retired or left the business altogether for various reasons. That ultimately hurts the city. That hurts our democracy when we don't have the coverage, when we don't have the journalists who know the city. So I don't know if it's necessarily a lack of, caring about this issue. I have no doubt some outlets are in denial and only want to portray a certain narrative. But the reality is this is happening. Crime is happening. Crime is surging. The drug epidemic, the crisis, the homeless crisis is still raging out of control. And there is a lack of coverage out there right now. So I'm just trying to do my part, Brandi.
Do you hear the hard questions at press conferences from other members of the media?
On occasion. And I think, quite frankly, if I may be a real here, I think a lot of our officials here in Seattle now know that they're not going to get hard questions because they know so many of the media members are focused on other stories or other angles. And, in many cases, they may not even know which questions they need to be asking. So we need to make sure we continue to hold all of our public officials accountable, and we need journalists to do that. And unfortunately, we need tougher questions asked of our officials.
So when is the series going to come out? When can we expect that to drop?
Well, I'm hoping it comes out either on Wednesday or Thursday. That is the hope. There are just so many moving pieces, so many new elements that I'm starting to add. But at the rate we're going, I think it's going to be a 2-part series anyway. So at the very least this week, we just want to show what's happening on the ground, because I think you have some elected officials in the council who are in denial, who are just focused on all kinds of different topics. And right now, if you ask the average Seattle resident, they're going to say it's public safety and homelessness. Those are easily in the top 3 of the most important issues, and those need to be addressed. And I think the only way, one of the best ways to hold our public officials accountable is all to show the video. This is what's happening. This is what's happening on the ground. I have footage from overnight. I have footage from the weekends. I have footage from the weekdays. And this activity is happening all hours of the day, 24/7.
And as you said, and any common sense person will watch this and say, well, it's on video. Obviously this is a problem. But the last time that a member of the media in Seattle put out a very raw, honest portrayal of what was happening was Seattle is Dying in 2019. And you know how that went. You worked at Como at the time, I think, or maybe you came right after that.
Yeah, those before my
came
time.
after that. But,
yeah, and I participated in the second one called Fight for the Soul of Seattle, which was the continuation, the part 2.
Como was vilified for that by others in the media. You had Crosscut and the Seattle Times putting out articles rebuffing this narrative that Seattle is dying. And so that's why on Twitter over the weekend, I told you I think, shared a video that you put a teaser for the series and said, you're going to be vilified for doing this and just sort of stand your ground. Are you worried about that?
I'm sorry, not at all. Not in this town. After everything that I've been through in the past 4 or 5 months, look, I stick to my convictions, and I think my job at the end of the day is to fairly and accurately show what's happening. So let's do it in context, right? Look, I don't know if Seattle's dying. I don't even know what that means anymore. Here's what I do know. I'm covering every single day on the front lines what's going on with this drug crisis, with the crime, with the homelessness. I know what I'm seeing. I need more reporters out there telling that truth. And it's just not happening right now. So I'm inviting the rest of the media here in Seattle, especially, to come out, shine a light on what's happening so we can continue this conversation. Because if we don't, it's almost like if the reporter or the story isn't covered, it's almost like it never happened. Right, Brandi? So we have to be out there to cover this stuff. And I just wish the rest of the media, some of the outlets that you mentioned, will come out there and continue to, really put that balanced coverage out there of not only the positive, but also this raw reality.
100%. And it has to be relentless. And when the mob comes after you, Jonathan, again, they come after you often. I will always 100% have your back. So.
Yeah, thank you. And at this point, I've been doxxed. I've been threatened, everything. So whatever. At this point, I'm just here to tell the stories of really what's happening in Seattle. Thank you again for all your support, Brandi.
All right. And just to end on how can people watch the series and how can they support your work?
Yeah, well, most of my work will air at fixhomelessness.org. That's our website at Discovery Institute. But in terms of these quick snippets, daily breaking, it's going to be on my Twitter at Choe Show, ChoeShow. That's the best way.
All right. Jonathan Choe, thanks so much. Be safe out there.
Thanks again, Brandi.